Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC betting show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 237, Rose Namajunas versus Jessica Andrade. We're going to talk about our best bet play that is currently purchased on Wagertalk. Link down in the description, as well as 3 free plays we're going to go over. Going to try to go over them quick. Don't want to make this show too long, but have 3 free plays I want to talk about. But before we do not forget to subscribe, like, head kick the bell icon, get involved with the channel. I always appreciate everybody who drops a comment down there, whether you're agreeing with me, whether you're disagreeing with me. I always appreciate those comments because that's what this community is about. We've grown. We've got some great people down there that are talking about, different fights, different aspects. And if there's something that you're seeing that I don't see, I want you to drop a comment, let me know, as well as vice versa. And I love having those conversations, capping fights, talking about other opportunities, and we are here all to go out there and beat the bookies. So, first thing we're going to talk about is the free play. Now, our free play is on the main event of the evening between Rose Namajunas and Jessica Andrade in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil for the strawweight title. Now, this is an exciting fight. This is a fight whether you're an average fan, a middle-of-the-road fan, or a hardcore fan. This is just a great fight. It's stylistically an exciting fight. We're going to go over it, but it's a great fight also in a betting perspective as well. So breaking it down first, the first thing you're going to take a look at here is you got Rose Namajunas, the current champion. She's 8-3. Current odds is plus 100. You've got Jessica Andrade. She is 19-6, and she's minus 122 is her current price tag. So the first thing we're talking about here is the fact that Rose Namajunas is coming off back-to-back victories against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And the fact that she went out there and she beat Joanna at UFC 217, the one that I was at in New York, was unbelievable. What a knockout, what a performance. And this is a spot where Joanna was really looked at as almost unbeatable. I mean, people were just, really scared of her. She was getting a lot of people's heads, and she's got elite kickboxing. Really went out there, and Rose fought her fight. There was a lot of, reports on her, the fact that she was, Rose was crying in the background because she's known to have, her emotions are always getting the best of her at points, but she's able to really put it together when she gets in the cage. But Joanna knew she could try to pick that apart. It really backfired in that first fight. And Rose goes out there and knocks out the champion in the first round, which was an unbelievable experience to be a part of that fight, the crowd there. It was amazing. And then her most recent fight, she went out there and she fought Joanna again. Now, this fight here was one that I was leaning more towards Joanna. I thought that maybe it was a little bit of fluky. Maybe there was, something that just didn't go right. There was reports that Joanna didn't have a good weight cut, and there's always going to be some kind of excuses there. But Rose went into this second fight, and I thought she looked even better than the first round knockout. I mean, although this fight, the most recent fight with Joanna went 5 rounds, it was a decision victory, but to go out there against Joanna and really dictate the pace of the fight, land some big shots. And although some people were saying it was kind of close and maybe Joanna won, I don't think at all. I think it was really Rose's fight. Obviously, the judges had a unanimous decision, but, Rose just really put it together there. I thought she looked great. And it also puts on a situation of, is she on the decline? There's a lot of question marks there as well, but we'll talk about that another time. But Rose looked good in those last 2 fights against Joanna, knocking her out in the first round and then winning a 5-round decision in that most recent one. Prior to those 2 fights against Joanna, she fought Michelle Waterson. At this point, Waterson was the big hype train, the karate hottie. She was really building a lot of, the fan base, and people were starting to gravitate towards her. And this is a fight here that, again, was going to be a tough fight, but you thought it could be a standing fight. And the fact that Rose lands a beautiful head kick, drops Michelle Waterson, and ends up getting the submission victory in that second round against Michelle Waterson, I thought that looked fantastic, the way that she put it together over those last 3 fights. She goes out there and she beats Michelle Waterson and Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice. Pretty impressive there. We're going to get into some of the other things stylistically in a minute. Just want to go over the last few fights real quickly. And then Jessica Andrade. You got Jessica Andrade 3 fights ago. She fought Claudia Gadelha. Now, Gadelha is strong. She's big. good wrestling, good striking, likes to move forward. And in this fight against Jessica Andrade fought extremely well and basically beat Gadelha at her own game. She was able to outmuscle her, able to throw her around, able to really dictate the pace of the fight. I thought she looked great, landed big shots, went up there and got the unanimous decision. And then fight after that was against Tecia Torres. Another one. Tecia Torres, known for her strength. You know, she's able to go in there, muscle it out, a veteran, you know, fought a lot of elite fighters. And this was a complete lopsided victory for Jessica Andrade again. I mean, she was able to literally pick up Tecia Torres and slam her at will, and it was throughout the entire fight. She didn't put away Tecia Torres, but she looked great all throughout those rounds. And then you've got her most recent fight against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. This was a fight where Karolina got blasted. I mean, this was a shot that, I mean, some people may not come back from after a shot like that, but you could tell that, you know, Karolina looked a little bit worried, a little bit scared, you know, a little bit timid early in that fight, and those are the kind of things that a big power puncher can start to, you know, see the blood in the water and go out there, and she was able to get the finish. Now, this fight overall, with that said, this fight overall is really a fluid striker versus a power striker. You've got the fluid striker Rose, you've got the power striker in Jessica Andrade, and, you know, when you're taking a look at the way they move in the cage and what they like to do and what are their great assets and what are their big things that they're going to do when they're in the cage. Now, the first thing with Rose is that she's got great cage movement. I mean, she's always bouncing, she's always moving around, she's always trying to keep her opponent off balance, and I think that's something that could possibly be used in a fight against Andrade, who's maybe a little bit more flat-footed, maybe a little bit more likes to just move forward, and if she can continue to move around outside, inside, I think that's going to help Rose a lot as well. She's got great kickboxing. She's got some decent power, although, you know, a little bit suspect on Joanna's chin a little bit, but Rose landed the big shot, and she was able to show that, and good distance control also for Rose. I think she's very good at keeping where she wants the fight to go, and some decent grappling as well. You've got the power striker in Jessica Andrade, but the fact that she's got great cardio, I think that is such a big thing. Not to say that Rose has bad cardio, but when you've got a power puncher who's got a lot of strength, a lot of times when they're out there and they're really utilizing all that energy, the muscles start to really weigh heavy on their body. They really start to lose strength, lose any steam that they've going on there, and that's where they lose the fight. If they can't put a fighter away early, that's what starts to happen. I think this is a different situation. She showed that she has a nice gas tank. She showed that she's able to come from a higher division and move down in weight and still keep her power, keep her strength, and keep able to go 3 rounds, go a full 3 rounds, and look good doing it. So I think that's a lot to be said when you go against Rose Namajunas. And also the fact that she is not reckless when she's in the cage. Now, she has a little bit of the people saying, oh, she's got that, that wild kind of, I don't really believe that it's wild. I think that it's a little bit more calculated than people are giving her credit for. I just think that she's always trying to throw a haymaker and trying to end the fight at any point. But for me, with all that said, I think a couple of the big things that I want to talk about that I think are big parts of this fight is, one, the first thing is Rose fighting for the first time outside of the United States. Now, I think that is a very, very big mark on this fight. Now, you've got Rose, who already, is well documented that she's got bad anxiety, that she's, been very emotional behind stage and crying and a lot of different things. And that's a very, very, very big thing to get over when you're fighting in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, possibly one of the most hostile environments that you could possibly face within the UFC at all. And all these locations that they're going to around the world, that is already, well documented as well, that is a crazy place to fight. The chanting, the things that they're saying, just the way that they really ride for their fighters, that's a lot to take in for somebody like Rose. And the fact also that Rose likes to, if she comes in close, she likes to grapple, and she's been able to utilize that, I think, to help her in different spots where maybe somebody's kind of rushing in tight, grapple, and they start to clinch up a little bit. She's very, very flexible, so she's able to kind of maneuver. But I don't think she could do any of that against Jessica Andrade. I don't think that she's going to be able to use any of that. I think if she gets in close, that's going to be a situation where Rose is going to be able to be body slammed, although on the ground is not where Andrade wants to be, but I don't think she's going to be able to get a hold of Jessica Andrade. And I like Jessica a lot here. I think that there's so many great things that she's able to do. I think the power is going to be a big part. The fact that she's going to be able to pressure very hard. Also the fact that Rose is going to be backpedaling basically the entire fight. She's going to have to backpedal. She's not going to stand toe-to-toe with Jessica Andrade at any point. So her backpedaling is going to take a little bit of that pop off that hook, that check hook that she likes to throw. I think for me here, I like Jessica Andrade. I think that the minus 122, 120, 115, right in that range, even 125 is not a bad price on her. I think that, her being the favorite right away is a little bit crazy. I did think you would lay a little bit more towards the other way, although it's very close. But you got 8-3, you've got 8-3 record here, you've got 16-9. Jessica Andrade has a lot of cage experience. I think her dropping down in weight is a fantastic thing for her. I think she fits in really, really well here. For me, I like Jessica Andrade to go up there, get this victory. Even if it goes 5 rounds, I still think she gets this victory. But I could see a finish, I could see the pressure, I could see a big shot landing, and her being able to really pressure and put the fight away. So I got Jessica Andrade as my free play at minus 122. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is another free play. It is between Jared Cannonier and Anderson Silva. Now, this one here is another interesting fight. We've got, Jared Cannonier, who has decided to drop, he's a heavyweight, drop down to middleweight, a lot of changes there in his body. He looks good. I think that he's fitting very nicely in this spot, and he's 11-4 right now. You've got Cannonier is the favorite at minus 142. You've got Anderson Silva, who's 34-9, and currently plus 120 on him. Now, besides for the fact that Cannonier is going down in weight, the big part here is that Anderson Silva is 43, 44 years old. That's a big question mark. Now, right out the gate, that's something for me when I was taking a look at this fight, before I looked at fight tape, is something that, it's a lot to take. When you're looking at age and you're looking at wear and tear, and you're looking at all these other things, there's a lot of different things to take away from that. Now, has Anderson Silva been in a lot of wars? Definitely been in some tough fights, and broke his leg at a point a while ago, and a lot of different things have happened with him. But he was out for a couple years, and I don't think this 44 is a normal 44. I think the way that he's looked, I think overall, I think that I'm not really putting too much into that in this fight. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, if that's a scenario that you guys are agreeing or disagreeing with. But I'm not really too big on the fact that being 44 for him at this point right now against Jared Cannonier is going to play too much of a factor. Now, we'll talk about Jared Cannonier first. First thing with him, too, is that, again, he went down in weight. His last fight was against David Branch. Against David Branch, he won. It was a TKO victory. Thought he looked good there. Big power puncher. Cannonier likes to move forward. That's his big thing, Cannonier here. He likes to move forward, likes to have that pressure. And I think that that's something that he can utilize a lot when going up against somebody like Anderson Silva. That's going to be a question mark. Can he get inside against Anderson Silva? And if he can, will he land the big shot? Now, you go on the other side here, you've got Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva, over his last few fights, he went up against, first we'll talk about the fact that he won 16 straight fights in the UFC, multiple, title defenses, but over his last 7, he's 2-5. Now, that always, to me, is a little bit worrisome. That's more worrisome than it is for being 44 years old, but that's a little worrisome. But when you take a look at who he's lost to over that span, most recently lost to Israel Adesanya in a somewhat competitive, glorified sparring match. So I can't really put too much in there, but I thought he looked pretty good. And then he also lost twice to Chris Weidman, who is a champion and still a relevant fighter within the UFC. You've got Michael Bisping, who was also a middleweight champion, lost to him, which was a weird fight where Silva probably could have finished the fight with a flying knee, and then they didn't call the fight, and Silva thought they called the fight. Very weird. He ended up losing that fight, but a weird fight there. And then he lost against Daniel Cormier when he fought Cormier, which I was at UFC 200 in Las Vegas. And that fight there against Cormier, that's a fight where I think, what was it, a day that Silva ended up taking that fight, so at a day's notice. So the losses that he had are a little suspect against high elite current or past champions that he's faced. So there's definitely, yes, he's 2-5, but those 5 losses, there's definitely an asterisk next to those on the people that he's lost to. Now, you compare these two in the striking category. without a doubt, you give the striking to Anderson Silva. He's far more technical, far more superior, got the better striking. You've got Cannonier, definitely has the power. But the thing for me here when I was breaking it down, when you look at what these guys do, when you look at their fight tape, is that the big red flag for me on Cannonier is the fact that he is very one-dimensional. I mean, very one-dimensional, and the fact that he really carries that traditional boxing style. Not very creative when it comes to that. He can try to get in tight, land some big shots, but to me, that's something that Silva's distance control and how amazing he is at that, that's going to come into play. I think that the distance control, I think the fact that he's got the level changing kicks, I think those kind of things are really going to confuse somebody like Cannonier. I mean, Cannonier, he's looked good, he's 11-4, but he's 2-3 out of his last 5. So, you know what, there's a lot to be said about his power and going down in weight. And although I'm talking about Jessica Andrade going down in weight, the stylistically, it's definitely a different matchup because you just look at Anderson Silva is the elite of the elite when it comes to technical striking. And also in the clinch. I think even if Cannonier gets in tight, you've got Silva who's able to throw knees, throw elbows. He's very creative in there, very comfortable in there as well too. And I think that those are the kind of things, and his head movement also getting in there, are going to be things that are going to be tough for over 3 rounds for Cannonier to really solve Silva in those 3 rounds. Also the fact being in Brazil. Now, I'm a big fan of the, where there's a little bit dicey judging. Not like you always have, you bet that way and you bet all the Brazilians in that perspective. But, when you've got a legend in Anderson Silva against a guy that he's definitely more superior fighter than Cannonier is just in general, you've got to put that into perspective where Silva just has to really pitter-patter his way through each round. He doesn't have to land the big shots. He doesn't have to wow the crowd. He doesn't have to really get everybody, land these big flurries. Yes, he can do that. He's very capable of it, but there's no real actual need for it. There is an absolute need for Cannonier to go out there, land a big shot, wow the crowd, steal the rounds, because each round is really going to be sliding toward. If there's a middle of the road round or there's anything like that, Silva's getting it. I mean, Silva is getting it. Silva is also undefeated in Brazil. Never lost in his career in Brazil. I think that those are the kind of things, losing only to past champions. Overall, I think that Cannonier is too reckless with his striking. When he's moving forward, I think that those are the kind of spots that Silva's going to be able to work the leg kicks. He's going to be able to work the jab. He's going to be able to slip in and out anytime where he's going to feel the pressure. I think that overall this is going to be, I would think, a little bit more on the boring side of a fight. I don't think that there's going to be any of these highlight moments. But I believe that Silva will find a way over 3 rounds to pick apart Cannonier. So I'm going to be taking Anderson Silva plus 120 as another free play. I really believe he gets the job done out there. Very excited to see this fight too, and just stylistically how this really meshes. And the last one, I'm just going to kind of give you the other play instead of going over it, is Irene Aldana versus Batch Correia. Now, Correia versus Aldana is an interesting fight. Now, Correia is the Brazilian here. You've got Aldana, who is the big favorite. She's minus 270, minus 280, a little bit higher than I normally like to even talk about here on this show. But what you got to take a look at here is the fact that Correia, in every aspect, is below Aldana. I mean, there isn't really one thing that Correia does better than Aldana. I mean, Correia is slower. She's got basic striking. She was out for 2 years. I think that is a huge thing where I believe in ring rust. And when Correia already is 36 years old and not somewhat relevant, but not really relevant, and hasn't, her skill set's very basic. But then you've got somebody like Aldana who is going to have the reach advantage. She's going to, and the fact that not only she got the reach advantage, but I love the way that she strikes. She's really very rangy with her striking, and I think these are the kind of things that pick apart a slow, shorter fighter like Correia. She's got power, she's got a nice jab, and she also has great cardio. So mixing all those things together, it doesn't really give many outs for Correia here. I mean, Correia, the only out for her really would be taking Aldana to the ground, wrestling her, laying on her, trying to win rounds that way. Even if it's the case where Correia gets her to the ground, I don't really see much damage happening. She's not that great on the ground. Also, Aldana is now becoming a little bit more offensive with her wrestling. So there's a lot of things to like about Aldana. The line has been shifting upward, and again, I got it at 270, but it's slowly creeping up as the money keeps pouring in on her, on Aldana. So I like Irene Aldana here as another play. I think she gets the job done. I think this should be a pretty easy fight for her. Kind of surprised that the odds were that low when I first, heard. But Correia, the thing about her is that she's a little bit of a name. People kind of know her, so maybe some bets were going in on her. But when you look at the footage, it shouldn't even be close when they step in the cage. So those are my free plays for UFC 237. Very excited about this. We will have the bet review show out on Sunday. Go over these 3 free plays. Also go over my best bet play that is currently for purchase on Wagertalk. Link down in the description. And definitely let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with these 3 free plays? Do you disagree? What are you seeing? Are there other plays that you like? Other prop bets that you like as well? Let me know down in the comment section. We will continue the conversation down there. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up. Always appreciate that. And that's it, fellas. We will see you in the next one. This is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and I'll see you next time.